In 1956, in Muncie, Indiana, the town sociologists had made famous as the most average place in America. A foundry foreman raised 4 children the whole town came to trust. He was not rich. He pulled 10-hour shifts in the heat and noise and came home with iron dust in the lines of his hands. He owned no book on raising children and would have laughed at the idea of one. What he had was a set of rules, plain, unbending, lived more than spoken, and by the time his kids were grown, every mother in town measured hers against his. Most of those rules have gone out of the world, and the one rule underneath all the others, the one he'd have named above every rule on this list, is number 1. He was not unusual. In that Muncie and 10,000 towns like it, there was a father like him on every street, a man who raised his children not with lectures, but with a code so consistent the kids absorbed it through their skin. He had no parenting experts, only a way of being learned from his own father, lived so plainly no one thought to write it down. That code raised a generation the country still calls its greatest. And then, decade by decade, we set it down. We decided discipline was harshness, expectation was pressure, the firm hand a relic. We traded the father who raised respected children for one afraid to be disliked by them, and called it progress. Number 22 he did without exception, and it is why none of his children expected anything handed to them. Number 9 he never once said out loud, and his kids learned it anyway, just by watching him. And number 1, the single rule that foundry foremen lived more strictly than all the rest, the reason 4 ordinary kids from a poor house became the most trusted in town, took no money, no education, and not one lecture. Stay with him to the end. These were not parenting techniques. They were the opposite of technique, a way of living so steady and so honest that children could not help but be shaped by it. That is the difference between a parent who manages a child and a father who raises a person the whole town respects. Every rule on this list, that foreman lived by heart in a house where the children were always watching. Hit that subscribe button and let us count down the 25 rules 1950s fathers lived by that raised the most respected kids in town. Number 25. He made them meet a grown-up's eyes. Every adult who came through the door got the same from his children. A hand put out, a name said back. A look held a beat longer than a shy kid wants to hold it. You teach it young, you stand the child in front of the visitor, and do not let them mumble at the floor. A school teacher in Dayton, Ohio in 1955 could tell in one handshake which fathers were doing their job. That steady look was the first thing the foreman drilled, because a child who can meet a man's eyes has already been told he is worth meeting. A grown-up remembers the kid who looked at him. He remembers the one who could not, too. Number 24. Everyone worked before anyone ate. No hands were idle before breakfast, a bed made tight, a stove filled, the walk swept, something done before a plate was set down. You give even the smallest child one real chore the household depends on. A farm father outside Cedar Rapids in 1954 had his 6-year-old feeding chickens before school. The foreman believed a child who contributes to a home learns he belongs to it, and one who is only served learns he is OED. The work was small. What it taught was not. Number 23. Dinner was at 6 and everyone was there. The table was set for the whole family every evening, and short of blood or fever, everyone sat at it. The one fixed point the day was built around, and nothing moved it. A steelworkers family in Youngstown, Ohio in 1957 ate together every night, no matter which shift the father pulled. At that table, the kids reported their day, took their father's questions, and learned to sit still and listen to grown talk. It was not about the food. It was 1 hour every day, telling 4 children they were a family and not just people sharing a roof. Number 22. He made them earn every dime. He did not hand his children money, and he did not hand them things. A bicycle, a mitt, a movie ticket came out of work. Always. You let them want something, then show them the path to it that runs through effort. A grocer in Topeka, Kansas in 1956 paid his kids in nickels for stocking shelves and never once simply gave. The foreman knew a thing earned is valued and a thing given is spent, and he wanted children who felt the weight of $1 because they knew what it cost to get one. It is why not one of his kids grew up expecting the world to owe them a living. Number 21. Sir and ma'am were not optional. Every elder was answered with respect, yes sir, no ma'am, and a chair given up the moment a grown-up needed one. You require it early and every time until it stops being a rule and becomes a reflex. Across the small towns of the 1950s Midwest, this was simply the air children breathed. The foreman held the line because how a child addresses an elder is how he has been taught to see one, and a boy who calls a man sir has already learned he is not the center of the world. The word was small. The order it built was not. Number 20. His word was iron. When he told his children something would happen, a reward or a punishment, it happened without fail. His word and reality were the same thing. You never make a promise or threat you will not keep, because every broken one teaches a child your words are only weather. A father in Scranton, Pennsylvania in 1955 never went back on a thing he had said to his boys. The foreman would drive across town to deliver a promised consequence rather than let it slide, building children who believed words meant something. A father whose word is iron raises a child whose word is iron. That is the whole inheritance. Number 19. He let them fail. When a child was about to fall short, the science project, the tryout, the paper route done sloppy, he did not swoop in. He let the lesson land, standing back, hard as it was, so the natural consequence could do the teaching he could not. A father in Flint, Michigan, in 1958, let his son strike out all season rather than rig the game for him. The foreman knew a child rescued from every failure never learns he can survive one, and grows up brittle in a world that breaks the brittle. He caught them when it mattered. He let them fall when it taught. Knowing the difference was the whole art.
Before we go on, I made something special for you. A guide for men like us who still believe a good name and good manners mean something. It's the Lost Gentleman's Code, the old-fashioned manners American gentlemen once lived by, the kind that make you the man everyone respects, welcome in any room you walk into. But these ways are disappearing fast, and once they're gone for good. I've put together 2 books for you, plus a free bonus. Don't spend another year being the man people overlook. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link below. Go ahead, I'll wait.
Number 18. Finish what you start. If a child signed up for the team, took the job, or started the model, they finished it. Quitting halfway was not allowed. You let them choose freely, then hold them to the choice all the way to the end. A shop owner in Akron, Ohio in 1956 made his daughter finish a paper route she'd begged for and come to hate. The foreman was not cruel about it. He just knew a child allowed to quit whenever it got hard becomes an adult who quits whenever it gets hard, wanting to stop was allowed. Stopping was not. That gap is where grit is grown. Here is the trade we made, laid plain. Every one of these rules asks the same thing of a father, that he hold a line at a cost to his own comfort and his child's momentary happiness, day after day, for years, with no applause. And we have spent decades building a world that calls the firm father cold, the expectant father pushy, the man who says no, a man who does not understand. We wanted to be our children's friends more than their fathers. We removed the chores, softened the rules, feared the discipline, and handed them everything the old man made his kids earn, then wondered why so many grew up anxious, entitled, and unsure of their worth. We did not free our children, we simply stopped raising them, and called it love. Number 17, he corrected them in private. When a child needed setting straight, he did it quietly, away from siblings and strangers, never addressing down where others could watch. You take the child aside, you never break them in front of an audience. A minister in Nashville in 1954 never once scolded his children in the church parking lot, only at home. The foreman knew public correction teaches shame, and private correction teaches the lesson. And a child humiliated in front of others learns to hide the next mistake rather than fix it. He praised them where people could hear. He corrected them where no one could. He never got that backward. Number 16, he sent them to help a neighbor for nothing. A widow's snow, an old man's leaves, a fence down the street. His kids did the work and were forbidden to take a dime. You point the child at a need and make the pay be the doing of it. A father in Green Bay, Wisconsin in 1957 had his sons shoveling half the block's walks before dawn and pocketing nothing. The foreman wanted children who understood that some things you do because a person needs it done, not because it pays. And a town notices the kid who clears the widow's walk and won't take her money. Service, without a price tag, is how a child learns his place in a community. Number 15, the rules never changed. The line was in the same place on Monday as on Friday. Whether he was tired or rested, in a good mood or a foul one, the children always knew exactly where they stood. You decide the rules once, then you become boringly, blessedly predictable. A father in Wichita, Kansas in 1955 was so consistent his kids could have recited the consequences in their sleep. The foreman knew a child who has to guess which father is coming home tonight, spends his childhood watching a man's moods instead of learning to be good. Steadiness felt dull. It was the ground his children learned to stand on. Number 14, make it right yourself. When a child broke it, lost it, or wronged someone, the child was the one who apologized, replaced it, and squared the debt, not the father. You walk them up to the door and let them say the hard words themselves. A hardware man in Peoria, Illinois in 1956 marched his son next door to own up to a broken window and pay for it from his own jar. The foreman would not clean up his children's messes because a child who never faces the person he wronged never learns that wronging someone costs something. Owning it was the punishment. Owning it was also the gift. Number 13, he taught them with his own hands. He put a wrench, a hammer, a fishing line in their hands and showed them how patiently until they could do it without him. A real skill they could make, fix, or feed themselves with. A machinist in Toledo, Ohio in 1958 had every one of his kids able to rebuild a carburetor by 14. The foreman spent his few free hours at a workbench with a child beside him because competence is quiet confidence, and a kid who can fix a thing with his hands moves through the world differently. The skill was useful. The hours beside him were the point. Number 12. Be where you said you'd be. His children told him where they were going and when they'd be back, and were held to it to the minute. You give freedom in exact proportion to their honesty about how they use it. A father in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1957 gave his kids the run of the town so long as their word stayed good. The foreman knew accountability is not the enemy of freedom, but the price of it, and a child who keeps his whereabouts honest becomes an adult a person can rely on. Trust was the reward. Their own honesty set the size of it. Number 11. He never raised his voice to win. He could correct a child, end an argument, or lay down the law without shouting. The authority was in the calm, not the volume. You lower your voice when you most want to raise it, and let steadiness do what noise cannot. A father in Columbus, Ohio in 1956 could settle his whole household with a single quiet word. The foreman understood that a man who has to yell to be obeyed has already told the room he has lost control, and children obey a calm father out of respect, but a loud one only out of fear. Fear fades. Respect does not. He built on the one that lasts. Number 10. Tell the truth, especially when it costs you. In his house, the punishment for the broken thing was always lighter than for the lie about it. Honesty was the one currency that bought mercy. You reward the hard truth even as you correct the deed, so the child learns telling it is the better bet. A father in Richmond, Virginia in 1955 would have a consequence for a boy who owned up before being caught. The foreman raised children who told him the ugly truth to his face because it was safe to, and a kid who can tell his father the worst becomes an adult nobody has to wonder about. Truth was expensive. He made sure the lie cost more. Number 9. He made them respect their mother above all. He never let a child speak sharp to their mother, roll an eye at her, or take her for granted. And more than that, he modeled it, treating her in front of them exactly as he required them to. You show them, in how you speak to her, the floor beneath which no one in this house will sink. A father in Baltimore in 1954 stood his sons up at the table until they apologized to their mother for a rude word. The foreman knew how a boy learns to treat the first woman in his life is how he will treat every woman after, and that the lesson is caught from a father's example far more than taught by his rule. He never gave it as a speech. He just never once let her be disrespected, starting with himself. Here is the part of his story we skipped. In the winter of 1958, the foundry cut its shifts, and for most of a year, the foreman was out of steady work in a town where every man chased the same few jobs. Money got thin in a way the children felt at the table. And here is what they remembered long after they forgot they were ever poor. Nothing about the rules changed. He still made them earn their dimes when there were barely any to earn, still drove across town to keep a promise when the gas cost more than the promise seemed worth, still sent them to shovel the widow's walk for free while he could not find paying work himself. They understood that winter that the rules had never been for show, that a man who lived them when they cost him nothing and lived them harder when they cost him everything was not performing decency, but was made of it. That was the year they became his. And the rule underneath all of it is still coming. It is number 1. Number 8. He put them to work young. By 12 or 13, his children had a real job, a paper route, a stockboy's hours, a farmer's Saturday, answering to a boss who was not their father. You let the world teach the lessons a parent cannot, through a job with real stakes. A father in Des Moines, Iowa in 1957 had his son up at 4 for a paper route in every weather. The foreman knew a child who has held a job and pleased a stranger for pay carries a confidence no allowance can buy, and learns young the world pays for value, not for wanting. The money was small, the self-respect was not. Number 7, stand up for the smaller kid. He taught his children that the strong protect the weak, and a boy who used his size on someone smaller would answer to him harder than any bully could. You make it the family's iron law. We do not pick on the small, and we step in when someone does. A father in Memphis in 1956 taught his sons to plant themselves between a bullied kid and the boys after him. The foreman raised children the smaller kids felt safe near, because a child taught to defend the weak becomes an adult who cannot stand a bully, and a town learns fast which kids can be trusted with the vulnerable ones. Strength was for spending on someone else. That was the rule. Number 6, he made them care for something alive. Each child had a charge, a dog to feed, a garden to keep, a sibling to walk to school, something that would suffer if forgotten. You hand a child responsibility for a life smaller than theirs and let the weight of it grow them. A father in Spokane, Washington in 1958 gave each of his kids a rabbit and the full duty of keeping it alive. The foreman knew a child trusted with something that depends on him learns to look past his own wants, and a boy who has kept a thing alive through his care has felt the first real shape of being a man. The chore was daily. What it built was tenderness with a spine. Number 5, lose well and win quietly. He taught them to shake the winner's hand without excuses and to win without rubbing a loser's face in it, grace on both sides of the scoreboard. You praise the gracious loser louder than the sore winner and never let a child gloat. A coach and father in Cincinnati in 1955 benched his own son for taunting an opponent. The foreman knew how a child handles winning and losing is how he will handle every high and low that comes after, and a person who can lose with dignity and win with humility is welcome in any room for life. The game was small, the character it revealed was not. Number 4, he kept his promises to them most of all. The fishing trip, the ball game, the bike he swore he'd fix, he kept the small promises to his own children as faithfully as any he made to the world. You treat a promise to a child as more binding than a contract, because to them it is. A father in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1957 came straight off a double shift, exhausted, to keep a promised trip to the lake. The foreman knew a child whose father keeps his word grows up trusting the world, and a child let down again and again learns to expect nothing from anyone. The promises were small to him. To them, they were everything, and he never forgot which. Number 3, he looked up when they talked. When a child came to him with something, a small triumph, a worry, a rambling story, he put down the paper, turned from the workbench, and gave them his whole attention. You stop what you are doing and let the child have all of you, because a child who is listened to learns that what he says matters. A father in Providence, Rhode Island in 1956, never once answered his kids without first looking up from what he held. For the foreman, this was the quiet root of it. 4 children who grew up certain their thoughts were worth hearing because the most important man in their world had always stopped to hear them. A child listened to becomes an adult worth listening to. That was his rule too, every single day. Number 2, he told them he was proud out loud. He did not make them guess where they stood. He said it plainly. I'm proud of you. You did that well. I'm glad you're mine. You put the love and pride into actual words, not just deeds, so the child never has to wonder. A father in Duluth, Minnesota in 1958 told each of his kids he was proud of them the night before they left home, and they carried it for life. The foreman was a hard-working, unsentimental man, and he made himself say it anyway, because he had decided his children would never spend their lives wondering whether their father was proud of them. A child who hears it grows up steady. The silence a father leaves behind is the loudest thing he can give. Number 1, he never asked them to be anything he wasn't. That is the whole of it. Every rule on this list, the handshake, the chores, the kept word, the calm voice, the respect for their mother, he did not merely enforce. He lived it in front of them every day, watching or not. This is the thread that has run under every minute of this list since the first. He did not tell them to be honest and shade the truth. He did not demand respect and give none. He did not make them earn their way and take shortcuts himself. The rules were not a fence he built around them. They were a description of the man they watched get up every morning. And that is why they became the most respected kids in town, not because he lectured them into it, but because children do not become what they are told. They become what they see, repeated 10,000 times by the person they love most. When his children were grown, and someone asked how one poor foundry man raised 4 kids the whole town trusted, one of them gave the answer that closed the book on it. He never sat us down and told us how to be good, they said. He just never once, in front of us, was anything else. That is the rule almost no father keeps anymore, because it is the hardest on the list. To be, every single day, the entire person you are trying to raise. He was, for every day they knew him, and they spent their whole lives becoming the man they had watched. None of these 25 rules required money, education, or a single advantage that foundry foremen did not have. They required only a man willing to hold a line at the cost of his own ease, to be the thing he wanted his children to become, and to do it for 20 years with no one clapping. The fathers who raised children that way are mostly gone now, and the towns full of them have half forgotten what they knew, that you do not raise a respected child by making his life easy, but by making him useful, honest, accountable, and certain he is loved. We called the old way strict. We softened all of it, and we are still counting the cost. But the code is not lost and not complicated. It waits in every parent willing to hold the line, keep their word, correct in private, praise out loud, and be, in front of their children, the person they are asking those children to become, waiting for anyone willing to raise a child the whole town will one day trust in a world that has forgotten how.